Childhood chores. I'm reminded, after a conversation with my mom about childhood and things we did, and we had chores. Well, it was my job to take out the garbage. Make sure the garbage was taken out every day. And then after we took out the garbage, well then at the end of the week, we took all the garbage cans out to the curb so the garbage man would take out the rest of the garbage. And I got paid for taking out the garbage. It was my chores. I forget how old I was. 5 or 6 maybe? But my dad made sure I got my dime for my weekly pay, amongst other things we did with our parents as children. But my parents were Baptist and they believed in tithing, so I remember him telling me, well, you need to give some of what you've earned back to God as a matter of a thank you. I'm like, oh, how much? Oh, about 10%. What is that out of a dime? That's a whole penny. And I'm looking at this dime and I'm thinking about 5 and 5, and I can get 2 5-cent candy bars at the store, and if I believe my dad, then I'm like, oh, I'm down to 1 candy bar and 4 bubble gums. Granted, this was back in the 60s, so things were a bit cheaper. But that was one of the lessons I learned with my childhood toys, was to give back to God as a matter of thanks. He said it was a tithe, but they also mentioned, everything belongs to God anyhow. So this is something I learned as a childhood lesson. Also, another lesson about taking out the garbage was that if you didn't take out the garbage, Dad would wake you up and say, hey, you need to get the garbage out of the house. It's like, oh, okay. Which means you had to get out of bed and take the garbage out, which was, not too far away from the front door, but taught responsibility. But there was also a limit to how many garbage cans you could have at the curb. I think it was like 3 or 4. But because my dad managed the residential facility where we live, sometimes, we would have extra garbage out there. And so we wouldn't have just 4 cans, we would have 18 cans. But the garbage men are only going to take 4. Unless, of course, you put the brown bag out there on the lead garbage cans, just before the garbage men got there. Then, for some reason, the garbage men would take all of the garbage cans. I learned later, what bribery was then, or greasing the wheels, but, everybody gets their cut, right? So, one of them childhood lessons, taking out the garbage.